of M2 for the month of March. And as Dr. Ho said in the previous meeting, that this is just a level higher than the M1 that we just attended before, but they will all come together as things are clearer. And without wasting any time, I'll ask Casper to do the house rules and hand over to Dr. Host for your presentation. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Cabela. Welcome everybody to today's session. We only have a few small house rules for today's M1 session. We would like to ask everyone to please mute your cameras to save data and bandwidth. Also to mute your microphones to keep all the background noise to minimum. If anybody has a question at any point in time, please feel free to raise your hand. And if your microphone is not working, like Jenny, please use the chat area. Then that's everything from my side. Over to you, Dr. Gous.
Awesome. Hello, everybody. I just think it's like a, whoops, there we go. Me and technology. There we go. So, oftentimes when you are coaching robotics, there might be, you think there's like method in the madness, but there is actually a method in the madness. There is a plan, and you as the coach need to guide your learners. It's not a linear learning thing. It's about keep going, and we're learning. So if you can think of it, on the one hand, we're building the robot. On the other hand, we're programming. And what happens in between is using the building and the programming to solve a problem. All right. So the 21st century skills are kind of in the center, and you've got your building and your programming. You've got to keep building structures, and you've got to keep programming. And we're getting there. And as I said in the previous session, if you go and look at like Boston Dynamics and go and see what they're doing, and then you just kind of unpack it, you'll realize that this learning needed to come from somewhere. And so what we are doing is we are equipping our coaches, because if we want competent and confident learners, we need competent and confident coaches. And I really want to encourage you never to think that you know all the answers. And as I'm sitting here, I'm seeing my laptop is flashing. Hang on a minute. Let me just get some power, seeing that we do have power. Give me 1 minute. I just need to plug it in quickly.
While Dr. Gous is giving us 1 minute, participants, once again, welcome to today's session. If you have any questions regarding today's session, the information is on the chat box, whereby you can send us an email on our ISET website, as well as you can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. For those of you who haven't registered on the MOOC portal, there's a link there where you can find the links of our recordings. Please note that the MOOC portals are 0 rated, so that is why we are sharing our videos that site, so that your data is not used. Over to you, Dr. Gous.
That was a good intermissions ad break. Thank you so much, Damela. All right, so yeah, right, I'm powered up, so I'll last the hour. So yes, and so if you've done the basics, you built the chassis, you've done the navigation, so the robot can go forwards, backwards, left, right, reverse, so you've got all the basic navigation. And you've done problem solving, but that robot is senseless. All right, so what we're going to do in the next 4 sessions from today until Thursday is we first want to up the programming. And to up the programming, we add sensors. And sensors take readings. It's much like our eyes, our ears, our hands. So we get information from the environment. Now, you can get your information from the environment, but you need to respond to it. So if you see a concrete wall in front of you and you keep walking into the concrete wall, no. If you see a concrete wall in front of you, you're going to stop. Your eyes are going to tell you, oh, this is a concrete wall, you need to stop. So you need to take data from your environment, you as a person, the same way your robot takes data from its environment, and then it learns, or so this is part of where artificial intelligence comes from. That's where the programming comes. So you take readings from your environment, and then we use it in the programming. So I'm going to go through the presentation, and then I will go into the EV3 programming environment, and I'll kind of show you how it's used. But keep in mind that we are attaching sensors. So let me have a look here. So over here, we've got 2 color sensors, all right? And if you look at it like that, we use that to kind of follow a line on the sides to make sure that the line is followed. All right. I'm just trying to think where else is a. I've actually dismantled all the sensors off the robots. This robot has got a touch sensor at the back. All right. So it won't reverse into a wall. It'll actually stop as soon as it's pressed. As soon as this touch sensor is pressed, it'll know, oops, I touched a wall. You know, I've collided with something. So in all cases, when you add sensors, the data that you get, you must be able to use in your programming. And so I'm going to introduce two more structures in programming. So normally when you program, like what we've done up until now, it goes, we go left or we go forward, and then we stop, and then we go left or we go right or we go reverse, or and then and. So whatever you've programmed the robot to do is exactly what it's done. And if you programmed it to make a sound, it'll make a sound. And if you program it to go right, it'll go right. So that is linear programming. So you go one, da-da, 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 da-da. So everything you program is everything that your robot's going to do. Okay. But now there's actually in programming only 3 structures. Okay, we've done the one. So you've got 2 left. So yay, we're nearly there. All right. So the one is looping. All right, where you repeat something. So if your robot goes forward and backwards and then makes a noise, and you want to do it 10 times, and you go forward, backward, make a noise, forward, backward, make a noise. So you put that into a loop structure to say, take these 3 icons and repeat them 10 times. Okay, so then you've got repetition. Okay, so that is maybe not, you don't always want the robot to dance, but your repetition is go forward. So keep moving, and it's not like what we had in M1 where it says do 4 rotations and then stop. Okay, because sometimes it might just be a little bit further. All right, so then what we do with repetition is say keep moving, keep going until the color sensor sees red, or keep going until the touch sensor bumps against a wall. Okay, or keep going until there's something in front of you with the ultrasonic. Okay, in each case, you're using data from your environment to program in the programming of your robot. Okay, so you've got looping with a control, and then you've got linear, you've got looping with control, and the third one is a decision. All right, so go forward. If you see red, turn left. If you see green, if you don't see red, keep going. Or if you see red, turn left. If you see green, go right. If you don't see red or green, just keep going. Okay, so there you make a decision and you decide which path of the programming to follow. All right, only 3 structures, and we've done 1 already, so 2 to go, and we're going to do both today and tomorrow, and voila. All right, so sit back and just think. What we're trying to do is we're trying to make the programming clever. Okay, clever in inverted commas. Okay, and we only make clever by taking readings from your environment and then using that in your programming. Okay, all right, so let me just quickly share my screen again. All right, there we go. And I'm going to ask the team whether we can see the slideshow again. They are just so...
It's going through now. Yes, I can see.
Ah, hallelujah. Okay.
Even I can see, eh?
Can you see?
Yes.
Okay, so we've got sensors, and I put it like after basics. We've done the basics, and now we're moving on. And welcome to the adventure. It's like so cool. All right, and Tumelo is on hand to do our MOOC moment. He is really keen and eager to help us. Oh, the welcome was Cabello. Closing does have to be Cabello as well. But anyway, all right. So the content and the recordings are going to be added onto the MOOC portal. We've got Tomato and Anzani in the iSet mailbox, and there we go. Let's go. All right. So we're really here to equip our robotics coaches, and we really need to underline. We actually had a planning meeting today, and we're probably going to be on the road hopefully soon. But we really want competent and confident learners to go into our future, and the only way we're going to get competent and confident learners in our future is we need to equip the robotics coaches to be competent and confident. All right. I see there's a tick to say we completed robotics M1. If you haven't, it's not a train smash. All the MOOCs are available until the 31st of November at 2300 hours. Okay, it's all good. Life happens, and we need to kind of keep each other in the loop. All right. So if you have access to a physical robot, EV3 Spike Prime or NXT, and then you've got the software downloaded, we're kind of assuming that's where you are. It's all good if you want to use a virtual robotics toolkit. There is a trial version that you can use. For designing some really cool things, you're really cool to use the Lego Digital Design or Studio. That's also an option. Okay, so this is what the little sensors look like, and I think it's important to realize that it's still electronics. All right, so this is the touch sensor. When you press it, there's the touch sensor for the spike. This is the Wally eyes. Ultrasonics work on send and receive. So there's two, one sends and one receives. The color sensor, there's different types of light readings it can take. And the gyro for a long time was very sensitive, and it left many teams very distressed in robotics competitions. And so for that reason, we seldom encourage the younger learners to use gyro sensors. According to my sources, the gyro sensor, which is now built in for Spike Prime, is much more reliable. I'll let you know. I'm going to test it out, and I'll let you know. All right. So just kind of in general, they say there is actually I did have it in the role of sensors in the evolution of robotics. So as our sensors are becoming more sensitive, getting more data, it allows the robots to evolve. Okay, so there's a very close relationship between the two, and obviously that is part of getting going from senseless to sensible robots. Okay, so we attach them to our robots. We have to attach them on two ways. The one is it actually must be rigidly and fastened to the robot, but it must also have the wires. So there's two ways. But if your robot's not attached to the brain, it's you're just not measuring anything. Okay. Why do robots need sensors? It's the same reason why we need eyes, ears, and hands, and taste is we need to be able to take readings from our environment. Okay. There's an interesting article, and maybe you can Google it, which sensors are critical for the safety of the robot. So that is an interesting one, because if your robot is doing maybe a firefighting robot where it's got to detect an increase in temperature, well, then it needs to have a temperature sensor, one would think. All right. If it needs to not collide with things, it needs to have an ultrasonic. And so there's a whole lot of sensors that are critical for the safety of the robot. It depends on the function of the robot, of course. Okay. And so which sensors are the most important? Well, that depends on the function of the robot. A lot of great references there, but more of a generic. But as we say again, the adventure and the journey has to start somewhere. So what we're trying to get is we're trying to get useful input data. Okay, remember the input, process, output. We need to get useful data. If we get useful input data, we can have better processing and we can have more reliable output. Okay. Calibration is one thing, and we'll maybe touch on it maybe tomorrow. You need to know that what you're reading is what you're reading, and correctly reading. Otherwise, your response to your reading is not correct. Okay. So there I've just said the three reactions or the flow controls to your programming is linear, repetition, or decisions. Okay, where you decide which one, how you're going to use your input data. So any sensor, and there's quite a range of them, is used to detect or measure some physical property of the environment, whether we measure the light, whether we measure the temperature, whether we measure the color, whether we measure the distance to an obstacle. But we need to have reliable input data. Okay, and that's just how you connect it. So you connect it into the brain with a wire, and it's got to click. All right. The gyro is how it turns, the color. You actually have to find a color or the ambient light in the room around, or reflected light. I'll explain that tomorrow. Ultrasonic we can do today, and then the bump, whether you bump, press, or just release it. So you can hold it in, and as soon as you release it, the robot will go. Okay, so just by way of programming, when you do linear, you kind of do this, and then this, and then that, and then that, and then that, and then that. That's a linear approach to programming. All right. For those who are doing EV3 lab version. Your flow controls are on the orange tab. But and I'll show you now what theirs looks like now. All right, so let's just do the looping. So the looping is where you're going to repeat something over and over again. Okay, so a typical thing would be an ultrasonic. An ultrasonic is fitted there at the bottom, so we can detect an object. A color sensor would be facing down. Usually you can put your little finger underneath it, but not touching it. And it's about 5 millimeters. And I'll also show you tomorrow when we do color sensors, the impact of interfering light. Okay. So it has to be attached properly or rigidly with pins or connectors. And it also has to be connected with a wire. Okay, so if you look at ultrasonic is in port number 4 of your EV3 brick. A color sensor is in port number 3. The 3 doesn't matter, but the 4 is really important. All right. A touch sensor. Why would we use a touch sensor? All right. Well, obviously, if you have a touch sensor in front, so you don't bump into an object in front of you, and for those who need to reverse without looking back, you need to know when you're reversing into an object. But some teams have also put it on like this. So instead of finding a program, they just press this, and we use that kind of like as a starter connector. All right. So you just hit it and it'll start moving. Okay. But you're using input from your environment. Okay. The ultrasonic is usually attached in the front. And I think, and it's to measure the distance to the object in front of you. So I'm trying to warn you as coaches, the learners don't always quite get this right. They sometimes attach it too high. All right. So then your transmission and your receiving, where the wave has to actually reflect back, is missed. So it doesn't actually pick it up. All right. So, yeah, I would say like this. And when you're starting with it, see that it can pick up a square box or a flat surface, that it can pick it up. An ultrasonic doesn't do well on a rounded surface. Then you would need to turn your ultrasonic up, vertically. But yes, so try it like that. I'll do some examples with you tomorrow and I'll show you. But also, it's got to be firmly attached to the bottom there. Okay. My color sensor. So this is what we'll definitely do tomorrow. But you can either go down so you can find the color, or follow a line or find a line. And so this color sensor, this would be here to find a line. So it's in the middle. If you're going to follow a line, I would really move it over to that side or to that side, just ahead of the motor. All right. The gyro sensor it attaches on the side here, and for Spike it's inbuilt. Yeah, I would say let's park the gyro first. Get your learners to really understand the touch sensor and the ultrasonic sensor, and then we do color sensor, and then kind of, if you can get to a gyro, that's awesome. Okay. So so if we look at looping, so here we're controlling looping with a value from your color sensor, and here we're going to do color. All right. So this is the condition that's going to stop the looping. It's kind of the thing that opens the door to get you out of the loop. Otherwise, you're going to keep going. There is a condition called an infinite loop or unlimited, and it'll just keep going. You have to recognize that and know that your robot's just going to keep going, and which is one of the reasons why a robotics table needs to have sides, because otherwise your robots are going to go off the table and onto the floor, and that's a catastrophe. All right. Okay, so you need to have a specified value. When you do looping, you need to have a specified value, and I'll show you now. Okay, so what does spike prime look like? Okay, so let's read this. It says here, when the program starts, you repeat until. Okay, so whatever you put inside your little loopy here, it's going to continue until the touch sensor that is connected to port A is pressed. Okay, so if your touch sensor was facing forward, you're going to keep moving until you bump into a wall. Okay, let's have a look here. You've got your ultrasonic sensor. Where are we here? The ultrasonic sensor. So you repeat until, so we're going to keep moving, or whatever we're going to do, until the ultrasonic that's connected to port A makes a reading that is closer than 15 centimeters. And then we're going to get out of this loop. As soon as that is met, we're getting out of the loop. All right, here's repeat until the color sensor in port A sees red. And what does it do in red? Well, that comes out the loop, and then we'll probably have to stop. Okay, so you're reading the code. So here, if we read it, we're going in the loop. We keep moving because our motors are on. We're going to go forward with 50% power. We're going to keep moving, keep going until the touch sensor in port number A is bumped. And then what are we going to do? So we're going to get out of the loop, and then we're going to stop. Okay, let's have a look here. So we keep moving, 50% power, going forward, motors on, keep going until what? Until the ultrasonic, this is the ultrasonic, in port number 4, sees something that is less than 20 what? 20 centimeters. Okay, so as soon as you've got something coming closer than 20 centimeters, what are you going to do? You're going to stop. There we go. All right. Okay, so you can also do it. Keep moving forward for 10 seconds, and then you're going to stop. So there you control your looping with a timer. All right. All right, it's exactly the same. When you're on spike prime, you keep going until the touch sensor in port number A is pressed. Keep going until it's closer than 15 centimeters. Keep going until the color sensor sees the color red. It's exactly the same. The structure is exactly the same. And so you read the code exactly the same. All right. So now we've now done the looping, which is controlled by a sensor value. All right. Now we're going to do decision making. So we use the switch value. So either we're going to do this thing or that thing. Okay. So this would say, here we make a decision. If your touch sensor is in port number 1 is bumped, all right. If it is, we're going to do this here, whatever's here. So we can add here, say, bumped. If it's not bumped, then we just keep moving. All right. So the value of this will determine whether we do that path or that path. If that is true, then we'll go up the top. If that is not true, we go down the bottom there. All right. So that is the condition that determines. All right. So here again, if your color sensor in port number 3 sees red, it's going to say red. If your color sensor in port number 3 does not see red, it's going to say hello. Okay. And so you can set any value, any way of measuring, any condition to your decision. Okay. It's really decisions are like I'm and half. Yeah. Okay. Here we go. We're going to go forward until the touch sensor is bumped, pressed. Okay. Pressed in port number 1. And then, well, then we're going to stop. We're going to wait for 1 second. And then we're going to reverse. Look, we're going to go back with 30% power. So we're going to go around the corner. So in other words, you take the robot and then we're going to keep going. So then we're going to, and if it's 10 seconds, not 10 seconds on it up, we're going to go in here. We're going to keep going. All right. So if it's not bumped, then we're going to say hello. So it's going to go move along, say hello, 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 until it's just pressed. There's point number 2 is pressed. Okay. Then it's going to stop. It's going to pause and it's going to reverse backwards and then keeps going straight. Okay. Similar thing. Okay. Here again, we start the motors on A and B and we're going to go. If your color sensor in port number A sees black, okay, then we're going to move with 40% and 20%. So 40% maybe is your left wheel, 20%. So it's going to veer towards the left. Otherwise, you move towards the right. Okay, exactly the same. That's how you read it. Okay. Lots of videos, lots and lots of videos, lots and lots of sharing. We are very aware that some of these videos are really awesome. And then we are aware that some of them are not so great, but we'd love to hear from you. Which ones, and this is your homework for tomorrow, which ones were really great? Which one did you really enjoy? Okay, I've added one here with Python as well. If you want to upgrade from Spike to go to Python, you can do that as well. All right, all right. If you've got a Spike, there's exactly on light commands, the roles of the robot. There's a whole lot of extra stuff as well. On computational, under computational thinking, you'll find the sensors for loops and switches. There's also some great things there. please first complete the M1 before you register for M2. It might just get a little bit confusing. All right. But get the software and we'll do some practical stuff tomorrow. Watch the videos and tutorials. And of course, we've got queries and robotics queries. We've got them right there. You're welcome to share. Okay. Tomelo has already told you about the M2. Again, it's 0 rated. There's membership. There's lots of joinable sites, and you're welcome to join any site. And that's the portal where you go to find it. All right. Okay, so I'm just going to stop sharing. Stop sharing. Anybody got any comments, any questions, anything they'd like to know? Here we go. Anybody? Are we good? And I see some of you have already got robots. So some of you already built robots. Anybody want to share how the robot does when you start adding sensors? Anybody want to add? Anybody? Are we all quiet? I won't pick on anybody, but you're welcome to share what you're thinking. No? Okay, so I'm going to start up my software then. I'm just going to start up my software and then we can start sharing.
While on that note of sharing your presentation,
Okay.
I asked whether did you enjoy the session? That first part of the session, I see it's only 2 people who said yes.
Okay.
Other ones, I don't know what's happening, but I see there's Jenny says, I'm glad you have cleared up my problems with the color sensor. Thank you.
Oh, cool. All right. Okay. I'm just going to see whether my software is going to load, and then we can do some practical stuff. I actually, I forgot. I'm a bad coach. I forgot to charge my robots, so they're not working at the moment. But anyway, let's have a look. All right. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen. Let me just have a look here. Share. Okay. All right. Okay, can I just confirm that everybody can see my screen?
Confirmation.
Confirmation. Okay.
Yes.
All right. So if we want to, here we go. If I want to say, all right, here's a loop. All right, and we want to go forward and backwards or left and right. Say we go move steering. Just put the motors on. Okay. So if you put the motors on, you do need to remember to put the motors off. Okay. So this will keep going forward until unlimited, and that's not a good idea. So now we want to say, okay, it'll go forward until the ultrasonic distance in centimeters see something that is less than 50 centimeters. All right. Can I ask also that you don't make this equal to? Never use the equal to. Okay. What happens then is if it rolls forward and the distance is 50.12 centimeters, it's going to smash into the wall because it's not equal to. So that distance you cannot exactly measure because you don't have an exact starting point. You have different power settings and you have different surfaces. Okay. So as soon as it's less than 50 centimeters, 50 centimeters is quite far, and usually 20 centimeters. If your robot is going really fast, it needs probably time to stop before it skids. Okay. Especially if it's on a slippery surface. So what I would suggest, use about 20 centimeters and see how it goes. Sometimes if you're trying to get out of a maze, it maybe needs 10 centimeters, which is also fine. Okay. All right. So, and then if you want to add, just FYI, it's a really good idea to reset your motors. Okay. So point B and number C, I will find out how you do it in Spike Prime as well. Just reset your motors just because it's a good habit to get into. All right. So that means that whatever's in here will keep going until your colors. But now what are you going to do? So what if you see something ahead of you? Now we want to reverse a little bit. Okay. So we're going to have to reverse. So then you're going to go, okay. So single motor. Okay. Maybe stop. Okay, and pause for 1 second. Let me just say pause. 1 second, and now we're going to reverse, which means we're going with the one wheel B, we're going to reverse -20. Okay, and we're going to reverse about 3 rotations. That should give us. All right, now you've reversed. So you're going forward, you've found an obstacle, and now you've stopped. All right, and now you're going to reverse. Now you're going to keep going straight. All right, and this is where you put one structure inside another structure, and now I'm thinking, I don't know whether I should do this, but anyway. So I'm now going to show you something which will make it a little bit easier. So if you choose this and this and this, and we're going to package it, and in programming we call it encapsulation. So now we're going to put it all into a block builder. So we're going to put it all into to wall. It's going to be called to wall, and we're going to add a little picture like that, and we say finish. So then everything like that becomes in it. So now we're just going to if you go onto the little blue thing there and you just pull the spaghetti. Now what we want to say is, oh, I got the I accidentally got one of those stuck in there, but anyway, let's go. All right, now we want to go. So every time you hit the wall, we're going to stop and reverse. But now we want to do that over and over and over again. So what you do is you have another structure, all right, and you put that inside there, okay? But you only let that go for a maximum time, say, of, say, 20 seconds or whatever, or 30 seconds, depending on how long you think you've got to get. And then we're going to stop the motors, whatever. All right, so now we are repeating that thing there. All right, you want to know what that's about, where it is? If you go onto the teal tab, all right, there is your stored procedure or your my block. Okay, so those details in there, I want to do that. All right, so if you click on that, you want to see what's going on there. It says that's what's happening. Okay, let me just take this out. This one is just going to take this out part here. Oh, my word. And then join that to there. And there. So it's colored up. All right. So that is what's inside your loop. All right. And there it's all nice and neat. So you're repeating that. You're going to go forward to the wall. When it stops, you're going to stop. You're going to reverse. And that part you're going to then repeat multiple times. Okay. In this case, it's 30 seconds. All right. Or if you want to say you're only going to bump into 10 walls, then you can do a count. Okay, and you count, you're going to bump, say, 6 times, and then you should be out your maze. All right, and that's how you change your program using an ultrasonic. Okay, if you have a new program and you want to, over here, okay, I'm going to go up a little bit. There we go. All right. Just if you want to see on the top there is called a tab vision. So it looks like that. So if you go on there, you'll see that. If you're on there, you see that. It's just a different version of seeing your code like that. But I like looking at it like that. Okay. So if the touch, let's go color sensor. Where's my color sensor? If my color sensor sees color, all right, no, that's not what we want. Color sensor, compare color. All right. So if I see red, then I'm going to say red. So let's go up here on the sound. There we go. And it says red. So let's just say we have a color sensors color, and we choose red. There's red. Red. There we go. So as soon as it sees red, it's going to say red. And if it doesn't see red, it's just going to say hello, like that. Let's just pick hello, and it'll say hello. 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 All right. So there, it depends on which one you're going. If you see red, you're going to say red. If you don't see red, you're going to say hello. Okay. Now, if you want this to move as well, all right. So then you keep moving. Now you've got to put it into a bigger loop, which is then, okay. So now I'm going to try and do this. So if you want to put in a bigger loop, you want to put that into a loop. Okay. So now you're going to put this inside the loop. Here we go. There we go. All right. So now we're going to go inside the loop, but now we want the robot to actually move because it's just saying something. It's not doing anything. So then we need to say, okay, we're going to put it in here. We're going to go on. The robot's going to keep moving. And remember what you put on, you've got to put off. So let's put this off. There we go. All right. So now it's got to keep moving, and as it moves, it sees red. It says red. If it doesn't see red, it goes hello, 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 red, yellow, hello, hello, red, yellow, whenever it sees the red line. Okay. And maybe not forever. Maybe give it like 30 seconds to wherever it wants to go to. All right. The important thing is for a color sensor to pick up a red, okay, and you can do it with lots of, you can test it. And this is a really cool experiment. If you go too fast, if you put this on 100% power, okay, and your red line is like a thin ballpoint pen kind of red line, your color sensor is probably not going to detect it, okay? You need to make sure that your color sensor actually picks up the color, or that actually takes a reading, okay? If you go too fast, or if your line is too thin, it's not going to pick it up, all right? So as much as you do these experiments, it's really cool. You can do it with your class and say, let's experiment. So if you do it at 100% power, do you pick up a line which is maybe 2 millimeters wide, all right? Or if you put a whole block of red down and you make it go at 100% power, at what stage, how far must it go on the red to say, oh, it's detected red, and then it'll stop, all right? All really good ways of actually playing with the ultrasonics and making sure that the readings you think it's taking is actually reading those sounds. All right. Okay. Any questions? I'll stop sharing now and I'll ask any questions. Are we ready to try and work with sensors? Anybody? Anybody? Nobody. Sensors is really important to understand. We need our learners to understand how sensors work, why the readings are taken, what you can do with the readings. You cannot put an ultrasonic in front and a touch sensor behind it, because then you're never going to bump it. And so the question is, so what readings are you going to take and how are you going to use these readings? All right. Anybody got any anecdotes to share about their learners experiencing robotics and robotic sensors? Anybody? No? All right. Okay. Okay. If everybody's going to go and practice their sensors and see what they can do with their sensors, because tomorrow we're going to go just a step further, and then we'll do the color sensor, because we need to be able to follow a line. So if you want to go and see whether you can follow the line programs with the color sensor, it'll be a good preparation for tomorrow. Right. So thank you very much, everybody. Tumelo, would you like to close the session for us?
No, Dr. Khos, I wouldn't like to do so, because I see there's a question that says, can a color sensor follow a line around the curve? Oh, you just answered that. Okay.
Yes. Okay. So that's what we'll do tomorrow. Yes.
All right. Yes. I see hands are being raised up. Sawubona, Dorothy Mlambo.
Hi, Dorothy.
Oh, hello.
Hi, how are you doing?
I'm very well, thanks.
Good.
Yes, it was just to say hello. Patricia, can I have a chat with you after?
Yes, sure, no problem. Cool. I'll stay on after the recording is finished. No problem. Thanks, Dorothy. Yes.
Just immediately after.
Yes. No problem.
Yes.
Awesome. Okay. Excellent.
Is there
All right.
Dorothy's line is not nice, eh?
No, it's crackling a little bit. It's all good.
In the meantime, is there anyone who has a question for Dr. Khos? Feel free to raise your hand or to send on the chat. Or what you can do is send us an email and we can attend to your question as soon as possible. But otherwise, if we don't have any outstanding questions, I'd like to say thank you so much for being part of today's session, and hope to see you tomorrow. And if you do have any queries, please don't hesitate to email us. From us at ISET and UNISA Science Engagement Center, it's goodbye for us.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody. Stay well. Okay.